Welcome one and all to this space between the picket lines. I'm your fellow pioneer, Rebecca David, and today is incredibly exciting because it is the beginning of our journey together. So let's get into it. Hopefully you are having a wonderful day or night thus far. Thank you very kindly for joining me on today's episode of the Genesis of Conception. Now today's discussion revolves around the science of fertilization. Now this is important because it will answer two big questions for us. Is a preborn child human, and is he or she living? If either of those criteria are not met, then the entire rest of the conversation is null and void. And if both of those criteria are met, then everything changes. Now, I'm going to be the first to say that those are gigantic questions with intricate and fascinating answers. So what better place to start than science? What does science say constitutes human? And what scientifically counts as being alive? And at one point, if any, do those two merge in a human woman's womb? So, let's start at what science says is the beginning of any human life across all of human history: fertilization. Now, thanks to the Center for Reproductive Health at UCSF, we know that fertilization is a 4-step process: sperm transport, egg transport, fertilization and embryo development, and finally, implantation. So let's take a look at what these steps entail. Sperm transport, in which the sperm must be deposited and transported to the site of fertilization. Egg transport. Ovulation must occur and the egg must be picked up by the tube. Fertilization and embryo development. This is the union between the sperm and the egg. And finally, implantation. In this, the embryo must both implant and begin to grow within the uterus. So, where does this information leave us in regards to our two questions? Is the pregnancy both human and also alive? So to answer the humanity question, we'll take a look at the part which genetics plays. Thanks to the National Human Genome Research Institute, we know that deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA, is a molecule found within the nucleus of every single living thing on Earth. Now, DNA contains the biological instructions which make each species unique, including humans. We also know that since both a human sperm and a human egg are required for fertilization to happen, the DNA of a new being in a human woman's womb must be another human. There is no alternate option. Therefore, yes, in every single instance across all of time, a new pregnancy within a human woman's womb is a human infant. But it's only half the question. Sure, it's a human, but is it alive? For this bit, we will take a look at what it means to be alive. Warning, it's going to get morbid, but then we'll back off from the morbidity. So first, morbid as it might sound, a child in the womb can tragically die, which we call a miscarriage. At that point, it must be removed from the woman's body, where she will get very sick very fast. And in order to die, you must first be living. But on a much less morbid note, there are plenty of other fantastic indicators, such as, but not limited to, the infant's heartbeat, the infant's brainwaves, independent movement of the infant within the womb, their thumbprint or thumbprints, their senses, and breathing. Now, we know complements of Life Matters Worldwide and Healthfully that all of those things provably occur in fairly quick succession after the 4-step fertilization process has happened. To begin with, the heartbeat of the human within the womb. It becomes distinct within 18 days of conception. Now, since science defines the end of life as when the heart stops, This becomes a good first indicator. And interestingly enough, 18 days is only a few days after the point where most women even begin to suspect that they might be pregnant. Then, brainwaves. Those can be detected by the 6-week and 2-day mark. And this is important because whenever someone's in like a medical coma or whatever, brainwaves are looked at to determine if they're still alive. Next up, fetal senses. Those actually start kicking into high gear by about 8 weeks and 2 days. And at that point, a fetus can feel pain. Then there's breathing, which is an incredibly basic need for all human beings. An embryo can hiccup, which requires breathing by the 7-week mark, and their diaphragm is actually completely formed by 8 weeks. Next up, independent movement. Now, the embryo actually begins to move on his or her own by only 5 to 6 weeks. Granted, the mom probably isn't going to feel it for about another 8 weeks, but that does not erase the fact that it is there. And my personal favorite, just because it's super neat, the thumbprint. You got one, I've got one. Now, every living human being has a unique thumbprint that has never existed before them and is wholly their own. Even identical siblings have different thumbprints. So they were in the womb together, identical twins, triplets, etc. They have different thumbprints. The thumbprint is actually created in utero starting at about the 2-month mark of pregnancy. A thumbprint is created by a combination of the thumbs themselves scraping across the inside of the uterine wall during the independent movement process, and also how much amniotic fluid is in the womb. Now, all of this outlined, I submit to you that the scientifically proven answer to both of our questions is yes. Yes, a new pregnancy is a human being. And yes, that human being is very much alive. Now, this only scrapes the surface of the amazing factors that go into pregnancy. And if you are curious for more in-depth information, I have actually left a link down below to a live action article where you can read more on the subject if you would like to. Additionally, if you or someone that you know is facing a crisis pregnancy or an unexpected pregnancy or maybe even an unwanted pregnancy, I got plenty of resources to guide you. No judgment, only love and help. For the general populace, I would love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your agreements or disagreements in the comments below. Just please keep them respectful. And of course, I would love to hear any prayer requests or praises that you might have. Now, next Saturday, because this is going to be a weekly thing, next Saturday, we are going to look at the different stages of fetal development and what they mean, because it is absolutely mind-blowing and super duper awesome. And until then, all of y'all, be blessed. Never forget how much our Creator loves you. And here is a friendly reminder that you are welcome here, no matter what your background or beliefs happen to be. Let's be pioneers in the space between the picket lines together.